Let's go! Let's go! What's up, everyone? Welcome to the non-Ray and Adam show this week with special hosts Andrew Pace, yours truly, and Colter Wood. Colter, how are you, buddy?
Good, buddy. I don't know how I ended up here. I assume I was third to seventh choice. The Noose, Brando, Charmy, everybody must have been busy. So Kenny, Kaz, Aaron Ernst. I'm glad to be here.
We're not as good looking as the usual hosts. We're not as funny or entertaining, but we're going to have a great time. I asked about 35 different people to join me, and Colter was the first to say yes. So appreciate it, man. Super pumped, guys. Today we're talking, and I'll just be completely frank with you guys. Ray and Adam, they work for a financial firm called Raintree Financial. And if any of you are in Canada, I definitely recommend hitting them up if you have any questions regarding investing and insurance. But with that comes limitations. So they were actually unable to host the show today because of the topic, which is investing. Very pumped to have my very close friend, Shawn Schroeder, on the show today. How you doing, Shawn?
Very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Super pumped. Shawn's been a member for a very long time. I'll let him tell his story when we get there, but I just want to give a shout out to Shawn. He is a guy that I think that if we were in the trenches together, he would take a bullet for me, and we've never met in person. So Shawn has been a core member of this community and has devoted countless hours, weeks, months to our communal success through his stocks, through his prop picks, and through his investing mind as a whole. So before we get started with Shawn, I just really want to quickly share probably my favorite clip, I would say, of all time in anything that I've ever watched in my life about following the money. I posted this last year to the inplayLIVE group, but it is from Brilliance, and it is all about the motto of what we do at inplayLIVE, and I think it speaks to everything that Shawn does being a member with us. So here she is.
This place gave me my first real look at how the world worked. I watched people running toward the betting window with high hopes, no plan. Then I watch them walk away from the track, ripping up their tickets in disgust. It wasn't going to be me.
You didn't bet?
Oh, I bet, but first I figured out where the sharp action was, where the guys who had a plan were. Guys who grinded, took the guesswork out of it. They knew which drivers had been rested, they knew which horses were ready. They also knew which ones were on last legs.
How'd you make those guys?
I didn't at first. But I figured out they always bet late and they bet happy. So I started watching that instead of that. The numbers told the story, they always do. Well, I started making bets of my own, the right ones. Once I understood what had happened, I watched the track to see how it happened.
Pow. To the moon. My favorite clip that's ever been shown in the history of any type of entertainment ever. I think it speaks to exactly what we do.
Yeah, let's go. Shawn, softball question to start her off, buddy. Let's go. Give us a quick breakdown on your background and maybe tell us how you kind of got into the stock investing world.
Yeah, so my background, I grew up with my two brothers. My mom raised us and kind of grew up with nothing. So we had a really rough life growing up, and it really helped to motivate me into finding avenues that I could do to make money and to be successful. So that kind of transitioned into the education area of going to school, getting a degree in computer science, getting an MBA in business, and just correlating to endless learning. Like, what can I constantly do to get better and learn? I've always had a passion for sports. I've been involved with sports since pretty much I was 4 or 5 years old. Baseball was my primary sport. And it kind of served as a blanket to offcast from not having everything growing up. You know, a lot of my friends had money and came from great backgrounds, and the sports was just a great avenue to not get lost in what I didn't have and kind of fit in per se. And, you know, in finding this community, it has just been great. Stock correlation, you know, I didn't want to not have money. And everybody I met that did well was either involved in real estate, stock market, or had great education. So why not follow that path? And that's kind of what got me interested in it early on.
Awesome, man. I love the tie into the growth mindset theme that I feel like has kind of come across through all of these. Everybody's like addicted to learning. Sweet. Maybe give us a little breakdown. I think everyone's probably seen your Monday stock posts through the inplayLIVE channel. Obviously not affiliated with inplayLIVE, but very cool that you share that with the community. Maybe give us a quick breakdown, lay of the land of what's going on there.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how that all came to be. I work downtown in the city of Chicago, and I was on an elevator just going back to work after lunch, and I had this jacket on. A guy was in the elevator to my right, and just looked at me and goes, "You did Ironman race?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Yeah, my cousin just did that," and we started small talk. Handed me his business card, talked for a couple minutes, threw it on my desk. Looked him up a couple days later. He ended up being Kevin Matras of Zacks Investing Company. The guy's worth probably billions of dollars. So I took his card. I called him. He was 2 floors below my office. Bought his software with his company. Started taking classes with his firm. And you know, I'm a little guppy in a big ocean, just trying to become a minnow, just trying to absorb as much as I can and learn. And this guy sitting in front of me is worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. I'm going to listen to everything he had to say. And it's kind of been skiing downhill ever since. COVID happened. I immersed myself into learning as much as I could about it. Took as many classes as I could. Saw my money more than double in my HSA account, which I can self-manage at work. And just started helping people at work initially. And then I talked to Pace and said, "Hey, might as well help some people with it." And hopefully it's done that.
Shawn, I'll jump in there because I don't know when it was, but it was a Monday update. Maybe it was 6 months ago. I don't know. Shiba jumped on the page. And that was, I mean, what was Shiba trading at that day?
Oh, man. I think I told the group about Shiba in May. I mean, I 23 times my earnings on Shiba, and you know, there's some luck involved with that. I'll be honest. I got that information and I laughed. I used to make fun of people that bought Dogecoin, and there's no practicality. The white pages behind it to me were futile at best. And then I said, "Hey, if Dogecoin did it, why can't Shiba do it?" And you start seeing the volume increase, and shared it with the group. And I believe a lot of people made some big money on it. So it was great to see the Steam movement on it. I mean, it really took off. It was awesome.
Shawn, I made a killing on Shiba. It's just that I can't access it anymore. So I don't know if I'm mad at you, mad at myself, but no. It's cool that I can see my Shiba and see how much money I've made and can't access it. It's really cool. Yeah, so I think maybe just since you're here, if you could just touch on with the Monday stocks, you know, obviously you're not a stockbroker. Maybe you could just say what you do with those stocks, like how you trade them, like really quickly, to give people some context and maybe some of the returns you've had in the past.
Absolutely. So data is everything. And I believe that the data I get with this software really services as a catalyst to picking these winning stock picks. So the stocks I get, I utilize screeners. The screeners have certain criteria and formulas that weed out all the mess, and it hones in on stocks that pertain to the following key measures: filtered 2, filtered 5. I have an institutional buy screener that I created this week, where we try to get into the stock companies that are buying large amounts. Sometimes it takes them 2-3 weeks to do so. This screener picks up on that volume as it's happening, and you can invest and ride the wave, if you will. I tend to buy these positions contingent upon the red projection line denoted in the screenshots that I share on the Facebook group. So often it's a week. Sometimes it's a 3-month hold. Sometimes it's a 6-month hold. It really depends on how strong the projection line is. And I get a lot of questions on, hey, how long should I hold this? Well, we really don't know. Just like we don't know when to take a sports bet live during the game. We look at the numbers, right? And then we take it based on the number. You know, we don't know that the Ole Miss quarterback's going to come right in after getting carted off the field. I took that same wager, and, you know, it correlates to stocks. There's a marriage between stocks and sports. And that's what I love it, why I love it. So to answer your question, it's a hybrid approach based on the data I get for that given stock. And I try to share that with the screenshots and do my best to answer those questions when people have them, because there's really no clear-cut answer that cures everything for that.
So Shawn, just a quick question on that. How do you, like, what's your liquidation strategy? How do you make sure that you're not stuck there holding your dick while everybody else sells out and is making money, and then you're just falling to the bottom with everybody else?
Well, I rely on that projection line, and typically, like, if I'm in and out in a week, it doesn't hurt me too much. Or if I'm down, let's say there's a position I like for 3 months, and it's got, say, BP, for example, was a company I shared a while back, and the projection line is really good. And the week said it would go down. Anytime I see like a negative 10%, that's a pretty good hit. I don't sell those. I cost average in and I'll buy more. The numbers don't lie. And I believe I'm getting even a better value on something that I thought confidently of prior. I'll do that up to 2 times. So we're talking if 1% allocation goes towards BP and it drops 10%, I may put another 1% on it, maybe 2% on a day where the market's down. And that's where you always want to have cash reserves on the sidelines to hammer the stocks when they go down, because it's just like sports betting. When a team is not showing up, like the Suns didn't show up yesterday, right? And they were down 17 early in the second quarter, and then they decided to wake up and start playing. It's no different than a good stock with good numbers and good earnings. It's going to come back. Every reaction is an overreaction in the stock market. One company I'm on big right now is HGEN. It took a beating and I've lost a lot of money on it, but I've continued to add money to it. And if you look at the chart, you'll see it's got a lot of room for growth, 5-to-1 ratio of risk to loss reward.
Awesome.
Shawn, I think that's a good segue for us to actually talk about sports betting, because obviously, you know, the outside world. So I'm not talking about the inplayLIVE community, the outside world. You guys don't deal with a whole lot of what I actually get to see firsthand, but I know that I'm speaking to a lot of people on the inside when I say you're skeptical when you first hear about us, right? You weren't skeptical, Shawn. I shouldn't say that. You had a very strong understanding that you can make money investing in sports as opposed to gambling, but you've already touched on that. So I guess talk about your mindset in regards to, you know, the transition of that investing mindset and how that correlates with sports.
Absolutely. You know, so early on with inplayLIVE, I remember emailing you, Pace, and saying, hey, can I have like a free trial for a week or two? Because I'm sure you're a scammer just like everybody else.
Asshole.
Yeah, I wasn't going to sign up because you said no. I'm like, if this guy's that good, why can't he offer me a trial to see what he's all about? There's so many advertisements in this space, right? So I gave it a chance, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. You know, my mindset on this, I'm going to watch sports anyway. Why the hell not make money while doing it? And why the hell not make, you know, $1,000 with 10 of my friends versus 10 grand by myself? It's so much better when you can make money with the masses. And that's exactly what inplayLIVE does. It shares live streams to 200, 300, 400, 500 people or what have you, all with a similar mindset, calling out different things that somebody else may not see, so that you can capitalize on avenues you may not have looked at with sports betting prior.
That's awesome. So Shawn, you asked for a trial, you didn't get one. Why did you even join that?
The way I looked at it was the risk reward, right? So I think it was, I don't know, roughly $100. I think you had a special going on. It wasn't even $100 a month. And to me, that's simple stuff, right? Spend $100. If it works out, great. If not, what's $100? And it worked out. And honestly, I believe that first week I paid for a year's worth of membership on one of the plays that you called out live. So right away, I saw the value in this. And I think I even emailed you and said, hey, it won't be long before you have 1,000+ members and you're well on that way. So the community is just worth its weight in gold. And honestly, the $100 a month is comical that I even questioned.
Thanks for saying that. Okay, so this is the big thing that I want to know, because this is me trying to get into your head and the heads of many inplayLIVE members, because we get a lot of guys that actually don't love sports as much as you might think, but they're very analytical, right? They might love crypto and stocks and investing, and they see us and they go, they actually don't mistrust us. They believe us and they say, this is awesome. And then they meet me and they're like, how can I trust this guy? He's not very analytical. Shawn, you are meticulously analytical beyond most. You're in the 1 percentile of sort of analytics and how you approach everything that you do in life. So my big thing is, myself and Kenny, we are both very, I would say we're good at what we do, but at the same time, it's in the moment, it's instant decisions. It isn't always backed by data. It's oftentimes very much based on something that we saw that we don't have time to explain. How did you find that process?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty loaded question, right? So I definitely overanalyze at times, and the pregame data, I leverage sports insights, and I use that pregame data to tie into inplayLIVE strategies. So, for example, I'll share my screen here as I get ready to show this and show you guys kind of some of the things that I look at. Well, assuming everybody could see this, I look at this data, and as you're looking at it, you're going to see is pretty good pregame data. You're seeing steam movements from books like Pinnacle, Heritage, etc., and you're seeing the results yesterday. This is just on pregame strategy. So, if I was to look at NBA, which is one of the primary sports I use for this strategy, it was 5-0 yesterday, and you'll look and you'll see, say, Sacramento over 222. So I'll look at that game live, and if there's a 12-point differential, let's say the game is trending for 245, 250. There's sites you can use like covers.com, and you can go to NBA scores, and it'll show you exactly what the team's trending for. If I had a strong play on Sacramento over, I'd actually want it to be under that. So if it was trending for 200 or 210, I will take the live play on the over if it's 12 points below the pregame total at plus 150 or higher. So you have roughly around a 40% break-even point leveraging that strategy. So the inplayLIVE strategy, I never looked at prior to this. I would just play these games based on the steam movement that you would see. So these are all steam movements denoted on the screen. They come up through the odds page here that you see. And this is just a live screen currently of all the NBA games and where the money's at. And there's system plays that correlate to each given game. So for example, like the Denver Nuggets and Memphis Grizzlies, you'll see these red numbers here. You'll also see the numbers changing. You can click on these and it'll show you different systems attributed to that. And then I'll incorporate that into Andrew's live strategies. The inplayLIVE strategies definitely come into play because you're getting better odds than the minus 110 that you would get pregame. And then what I do from there is I utilize something called a Labby system. This is something that's a little bit different. I'm going to share this on the screen real quick just to show you guys. A lot of times with sports, you have a 50-50 proposition, right, in the beginning, and you can win or lose. If you have data that is on your side, you can get those percentages to 55%, up to 60%, sometimes higher. So if you have a theoretical value of 55 to 60%, this Labby system, you can break it down to where your break even is 38.6%. So we'll just call that 40%. And what you're essentially doing is you're taking these games and these steam movement plays and pregame plays or what have you. And if the game loses, you make a line of 4 numbers as denoted down here with 450s. So game one, if your bankroll was $10,000 you play for $100. You'd have 4 numbers of 50. If that game loses, you add the first and last number to the game 2 column. And if that game loses, you add the 110 to the third game column. And it's a cancellation process where you play the first number and the last number, and it rolls over to the next game. I can go into this more in depth one-on-one if anybody's interested, but the bottom line is this right here. Your record on this situation is 2-2, but you're up $100 by utilizing this type of strategy. And I do this with the advantage plays that Gertz calls out and Pace and Kenny call out. Those tend to hit well over 50%. And when I use the Labby system here, I win a lot more with that, even when we get in our losing streaks, because I know theoretically the edge is on our side. So that is something that I've leveraged pretty heavily while being with inplayLIVE.
So Shawn, you don't trust me?
Well, I trust you, but see, I was a pregame bettor, right? So I think your entire audience coming in, everybody was probably a pregame mentality. Like that's all you know.
I'm kidding. But I think if you can stop sharing your screen there, Shawn. I think what's really awesome about this from my standpoint, because this is not what I do. This is what I do, but adding in an element of that layer of your data that you're using pregame, you're getting an edge on the pregame pros by betting live. And I think that's phenomenal.
Shawn, I get a great question. And because I'm a panelist, I'm not going to wait till the end. What can you describe steam movement for me? Because I don't know what the fuck steam movement means.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when people like Kenny drop 30 grand on a game, it creates steam movement on a given side. And I would say 30 grand is probably not even enough. You know, we're talking about 6-figure plus wagers, you know, the whales of Vegas that have beards that they send to different books where they'll have 5, 10, 15 people go hit 15 books all within 2-3 minute time frame, and they'll all drop 100K on a game. This happens every day. Books will release a line on Sunday for next week's games for an hour. They'll open up the book, and it's called sharpening the lines, like where they have the sharps just pound the hell out of these lines, and you see big line movement, and then they take the books, they take the games off, they wait, and then they re-release them with the sharpened line. That process, when the lines are adjusting and big money's coming in on one side to skew the live market, if you will, that is steam movement. And not only is that steam movement, sometimes that happens and the line doesn't move. And then that is something called reverse line movement. And that is even better, in my opinion, than steam movement. And that's when a team has, let's say the Patriots are -7 against the Dolphins, and they have 90% of the wagers or 80% of the wagers spread on them. But the line goes to -6.5. It goes to -6. What's going on there? What's going on is the sharp money is offsetting the public money, and the books need the Dolphins to cover. The books need the opposite team to cover in that situation. And I'd rather be on the side of Vegas than be on the public side.
So before inplayLIVE was founded, the Jets played the Cowboys. The Jets won the game. I believe it was 12-9 or 12-10. And that was a game. It was something like 94% of the public money and 94% of the actual total money was on Dallas in that game. And it was one of the most, if not the most profitable game I've ever had in my life. And the reason for that was because of exactly what you just said, Shawn. Vegas, by not moving the line and by not balancing the money in that game, they had the Jets to cover at almost 20-1 on a theoretical coin flip. So there's certain games where they don't balance it out because they want to hit that 20-1 side, knowing that it could be the most profitable game that they ever have. Not only did the Cowboys not cover, they lost the game. Now, when you talk about all that pregame stuff, I think it speaks so much to what we do as live bettors, because everything you just said is really appealing. And you go, wow, I really want a part of that. And you talk about, people deploying money all across the Vegas Strip with a team of people betting hundreds of thousands and potentially millions of dollars. And that's where the transition to what we do live is so brilliant, because we don't have to do all of that to get such remarkable returns using strategies like the ones that you just said, Shawn, but also, of course, everything else that we do, because when we're in that situation, we get that remarkable live value. You know, these pregame bettors at the end of the day, they might have made a unit or two depending on how heavy they went on the Jets. But in our case, for me in that game, it was like 100-unit game, betting live on what was happening as it was unfolding.
Talk about your pregame betting prior to in-play live and how it's, you know, how pregame betting versus in-play live has kind of brought you success. Because obviously you share all your pregame props on the weekends. If you just want to touch on all of that for us.
Yeah, Shawn, I think too, like you did this before in-play live, correct?
Yeah. So I was
success before and after would be awesome to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought I was a good sports bettor or investor, if you will, prior to in-play live. And I say that term loosely speaking, because I'd hit 55 to 62% with my hands tied behind my back. Like I would bet and walk away and go do what I had to do and not worry about it because the data was on my side. I knew the data was on my side because I spent endless hours researching it. And with in-play live, I made 12 times more money in my first year than what I did on the pregame data. I could hit the same game 20 times over at plus odds versus my pregame data of just betting it once and hoping that it hits. So the in-play live strategies, I mean, I'm up well over 6 figures in less than 14 months of time frame, and I never would have expected that with the pregame. My pregame stuff was pretty small compared to that.
So, Shawn, on that note, it's no secret your first few months were brutal. Let's hear about your journey at the beginning.
Oh, man. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that can relate to this. Everyone would be firing off green guns and everybody would be, hey, everything was a green gun. Like you could say, you know, hey, it's windy outside and someone's firing off a gun. It was so annoying because I'm here in Chicago and I can't get any of these effing bets in. And I'm sitting there like, hey, it's great. All these Canada guys are killing it. Good for them. This is a joke. What am I doing here? But I trusted the process. I liked you as a person. I liked Kenny. I reached out to Kenny. I said, reel me in, man. I'm losing money here. And I'm just going to go back to my pregame stuff because this is not working. And I found that the analysis and being analytical was actually hurting me. There'd be 10 games on, 7 games or whatever. And I'd be trying to get in on every game and watching. I have 5 TVs right in front of where I'm at right now. And I'm trying to watch everything and hurry up and get in versus just reeling it in and watching 1 or 2 games. And then I started making money when I started honing in on 1 or 2 games. I talked to Zanus a lot. I talked to Pace a lot. I talked to Kenny a lot, Keeler a lot. And I saw these guys were killing it. And here I am putting in endless hours of research, not killing it. What am I doing wrong? And they helped reel me in. And ever since then, it's been, I won't say gravy train, but it's been skiing downhill. And I take a losing day with a grain of salt because now when that happens, I know the next day, the positive expected value is going to come. The data is on our side. The numbers are on our side. The work has been done. Who cares if you miss 7 in a row? You're going to hit 5 in a row at plus odds soon. And I had to get rid of that negative mentality because pre-game, I better hit 58, 60%.
Right.
But you know what? You need 40%. You need, 30% on some of these bets we're taking because the plus odds are so much better. And, I think you see it in your marketing. Hey, what's your record? 50 and 50. That's terrible. No, it's not. The question you should ask is, what's your ROI? And so many people don't get it. They don't understand that. And, there's guys in here that do get it. And, putting yourself and immersing yourself around those mindsets helped. So thanks to Zanus, Pace, Kenny, Keeler, everybody that I've talked to help reel me back in on that. It's been great.
Yeah. Also, Shawn, I remember having a very distinct conversation with you where we were discussing that you didn't have the markets in Illinois and you overcame that mindset of, I can't do it versus what do I have? And then now here you are, of course, where Illinois is a hub, right?
I started adding more books. Like everybody said, you should have 7, 8, 9 books. And I did that. I leveraged the strategies Kenny said to use for, the split screen advantages and having everything in front of me and knowing what book to use for what specific market and which one had the best odds. And I found that Illinois did have a lot of these. It's only going to get better and better. They're only going to continue to add. And it's better to focus on what you do have and what you can win at than having FOMO and missing out on what you can't. Like right now, you guys were killing it with 888. And I started having a little bit of FOMO and wanted to punch the screen a few times. Like, it's great to see so many people making 10 grand, 5 grand, and you're the guy that can't get that. And you could have a negative mindset on that, or you could say, you know what? That's awesome. My brothers and sisters are making money on it. Great. It's coming to Illinois. These books are coming. Wherever you live, chill out. You're going to get the action. Focus on learning the strategy that they're implementing. What are they taking? Why are they taking it? It's going to come to where you're at soon. You may get a book they don't have, but will you be ready? Did you learn on that strategy when they did have it? So that when it presents itself to you, are you ready to hammer those lines? Do you know what to look for? That's what I learned from all the stuff that you've been teaching, especially with the 888 lines.
I'm floored with what you just said, dude. That is just, it's everything, man. And that's what the group's all about, right? Sometimes we got to lean on each other and help each other out. And on that note, Shawn, I think you made it pretty clear that, you leaned on a couple of top guys in the community and you became a top guy in the community from their mentorship. Has anyone leaned on you since then?
I don't consider myself one of the top guys by any means. I think I'm a data junkie and I like to just share data. And I know the information I have is powerful. And, I know that I've made more money doing this than I ever have in my life in 1 year because of the strategies you've shown. So when I see people questioning like, hey, this doesn't work, or how do I do this, or how do I do that? I try to insert myself with that. I'm going to share an example with, hopefully Tim doesn't mind me using his name because I just did. There's a guy that was about to quit and was struggling. And he just said, hey, how are you winning with this? Like, what's working for you? And, we had a conversation and I told him what didn't work for me. I said, hey, I'm not an expert, but this shit didn't work for me when I did this. This shit did work for me when I did that. And Tim is doing pretty well since then. And my advice would be hit the pause button, take a step back, surround yourself with the best people in this group and be a sponge. Soak the good from each person, squeeze out the excess because there is a lot of excess. There's a lot of noise sometimes in a Discord channel from people that don't know what they're talking about. And you have to filter out the people that don't know what they're talking about and understand that they're just trying to learn, and the people who already know what they're talking about and absorb that and get rid of that excess and hone in on what works for you. We all have different strategies and you have a myriad of strategies to use with inplayLIVE. And if you don't have something you like right now, guess what? There'll be new strategies tomorrow. 2 weeks from now, there's going to be more new strategies. So that's my advice, I would say there. And Tim would be the one.
We've definitely had a fair share of people that are experienced that come in, they call a bunch of their own bets, they lose and leave. And they just, they think they're smarter or better than us. And I think Colter is really good at having this mindset. He has the belief that everyone in the world is smarter than him, which is so not true, Colter. But that's his belief every day. So he thinks, what can I learn from you each, right? That's your mindset, Colter. And I think we could all embrace a little bit more of that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like synergy, right? 1 + 1 = 3. We have 500 badass motherfuckers, excuse my language, in this group. Drop the mic and walk off the stage because that is powerful. And the number is going to continue to grow. And there's going to be 10 more mini Paces that join this group, 10 more Kennys that join this group. And everything we keep teaching and learning from each other is just going to continue to make this group better and better. And how do you put a price tag on that? I mean, there's only one God. Yes, it'll
All right, Colter, Hit us with the fast. Hit us with Adam's fast five, buddy.
All right, fast five. You ready, Shawn?
I am ready. Let's go.
All right, buddy. So what is greater for you, your love of winning or your hatred of losing?
Oh man. I would say that my hatred for losing, I am extremely competitive. And when I lose, I take it personal. I start looking at the numbers and the data. I'm like, what the hell happened here? How did this lose? There was steam movement. There was sharp money. Like this shouldn't have happened. And I start, over analyzing it. So I expect to win. So when I lose, I get pissed off. So I would say my hatred for losing.
Yeah, I feel you. Favorite IPL win?
At 55-1, I've never hit a 55-1 in my life. And I made that bet and then I walked away and I heard everybody screaming and yelling on the live feed. And I'm like, holy shit, like that won. And I mean, that's one of my favorite memories of all time so far with this group.
Shawn, there's 55 pregame bets like that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Biggest lesson you've learned from a loss so far?
Bankroll management. When we get rocking and rolling, we're all seeing big dollar amounts. I mean, shit, I think Keeler, what he was sharing yesterday, I see that knowing he's in the Dominican now, living on a damn beach from this. How awesome is that to see that transition, right? And if you're the guy betting $100 a game or $20 a game, whatever the dollar amount is, you get lost in the big dollars. Screw all that. You're gonna get there. You have to manage your bankroll. And it's so easy to see someone make 10 grand on a game, which happens all the time in this group. And you want to try to do that, but your bankroll doesn't allow you to. Stick to the 1% rule, maybe 2%, 2.5%. Don't get crazy, and you're going to build up. So that's probably the best thing that I've learned. That's helped me out the most.
Love it. What's the next IPL strategy that you want to master?
Oh man. I would say that's kind of unknown at this point. Like there's so many moving parts in this group that I just continue to listen. And I referenced being a sponge earlier. There's so many people in this group. Like Hiddle's somebody I respect a lot, and I've never reached out to the guy, but I have an immense amount of respect for him, and I want to pick his brain. I think you hone in on similar mindsets, and you don't know what tomorrow brings. We may laugh about what we're talking about today, like next year, year from now, 5 years from now, all these strategies may be completely different. So I don't necessarily have one. I would say it's constantly evolving and changing, and I'm open to that. I love it.
And Shawn, to your last point, Keeler says this all the time, but there's just too many ways to win with this group. Too many ways to win. And when you're talking about the strategies, it's endless.
Yeah. All right.
I agree.
Guys, we're going to fly through the group Q&A to close this sucker out here. So are there any in-play-LIVE models that you have?
How about 762 of them? So if you're interested in that stuff, the answer is yes, yes, and yes.
Is it too late to buy Shiba?
Absolutely. In my opinion, it's not financial advice. I made 27 times my money on it, and I'm not greedy. It's, at this point, I definitely, I'm not going to hold much more into it. I'm free rolling at this point. If you did it right, you bought in May, you made some money, you took out some profits, and you just left a little bit in. And if it ever hits a penny, you'll be a multimillionaire. But the market cap on it's crazy. These meme coins are not going to last, guys. Right now they're there, but it is nothing compared to Clima or Grow.xyz or Chainlink or these companies that have utility that are going to be around forever.
Shawn, I'll just say on that note, obviously everything that you're doing, he's just doing this for himself, guys. And if he knows something, he's sharing it. Everything's at your own risk. Nothing's affiliated with inplayLIVE. He does not work with us. And it's the same as sports betting. You have to take everything at your own risk and take everything with your own knowledge and data. Guys, if you're asking questions in the chat, you need to ask them in the Q&A. So Zach Hiddle's actually wondering if you can paint us a picture of your sports betting environment and how it's changed over, the last 2 years, year, and what it looks like today?
That's an awesome question. Yeah. So when I saw Pace's setup and Kenny's setup, I was like, wow, I have a laptop. This isn't going to work. So I ordered a bunch of monitors. I'm looking at 3 monitors right now as I talk to you guys. And then behind my monitors, I've got 5 TVs set up. And it's awesome because as I'm looking at the monitors with the split screens, I could see the games right to my right, and I place the wagers accordingly as I listen to the live stream. So, constantly adding TVs, and I just wish there was an instant live feed on those TVs, because sometimes that's the struggle, right? Is getting that live feed as quick as possible.
Awesome. Adam, the former host of the Ray and Adam show, has a question for us here. It's a great question, and I really hope you hit this one out of the park. How do you rationalize when Pacer or Kenny are making bets that go against your data? Do you default to the data and leave the bets? Do you bet against the group, or do you default to inplayLIVE?
So that's an awesome question. And when you're analytical, it's a mind fuck, right? So you're like, hey, I know I have this data, but hey, I have Pace and I have Kenny who do very well, and they know their stuff too. So I think at that point, what I usually do, I either lay off, or if I'm watching the game live and I get a feel for the game, Pace has said this many times, throw the pregame data out the window and watch the game live. The pregame data is a supplement. It's a complement to what you want to do, but it's not a derivative of the outcome, right? So, there's going to be times where I am wrong, the data's wrong, and I am not afraid to jump on what's working. I'm going to ride the train. I don't care if I had a pregame under. I'm going to get pissed off seeing the group winning and sitting on the sidelines. So at that point, I just I look at the situation, I look at the game, and I throw the pregame out the window if it's not working, because again, pregame data, 55 to 60% of the time it's right, but 40% of the time it's wrong. And Pace's numbers are all plus expected value at plus odds. So I'm not afraid to drop those strategies if they're not working and jump on what is working.
Colter, you have huge experience with dropping the bias. So why don't you touch on that too? Because I think that is it's a huge part of betting, right? If you take something pregame, you guys have seen me let my pregame go in a drive, right? So yeah, Colter, how have you found that?
Yeah, when I first entered, I had a similar kind of issue where I'd have pregame data or pregame information that just didn't jive with some of the inplayLIVE bets, and I would leave them, or I really would bet against it. It would probably just be I would leave them. And part of it was just kind of seeing the process work, and I'm fully on board with it doesn't really matter what the pregame stuff says. And I've really changed my flow on that. I used to work a lot on all these models to try to, beat the books or give us an edge or whatever it was. And I focused a lot less. Like, we found value in the hockey one, but outside of that, not a lot of the models have really brought us enough value. It's all about what we're seeing in game live. And, following that baseball model for a while was fine, but overall didn't work out great. And I just started following what I knew about baseball in the game. And I made a substantial amount of money on it, just doing what we do with inplayLIVE and betting baseball off of what I'm seeing and not what the models are telling me.
Right. And I think that's such a good point. One of the things too that, Shawn, this probably really is like crystal clear, transparent to you. You'll see me going, holy shit, look at this number. Why does it pay so good? Guys, we got to take it. And Shawn's like, of course it pays that well. Right? You're sitting there going, of course it does. Because you already know why. You've followed the money and seen where those lines have been derived from. Whereas I am so fixated on what's happening live that I just recognize the good number. You go back and you go, oh my God, look at the money that was on Kansas on Monday night.
I love the mentality. And that's a really good lead into this next question from Rick. How many hours do you spend on sports value betting a week?
Enough to cost me relationships. Oh man, like I have no problem saying like I suck when it comes to work-life balance, and I call this work, but it's fun, right? So it's a struggle. I honestly couldn't even tell you, because I feel like it's all I'm doing outside of my day job. Even when I'm at my day job, I'm thinking about this. I'm always thinking about sports and stocks because I love it. And it's really not work to me. I just have to get to that point where it offsets enough money to where I don't need that day job. And it's pretty close, right? So I would say 3-4 hours a day, maybe more. I'm up till 1-2 o'clock in the morning and usually up at 6 or 7. I struggle with the balance, guys, and I'm open for advice on that. I admire Kenny and Pace and how they can balance things. Keeler and I were just talking about that the other day. It's, hey, how do you keep your girl happy? Like, yeah, you're making money, and hey, honey, let's go on a trip. I just made all this money, or hey, I got dinner. And, that's great. But there's times where they just want to sit there and hold your hand and watch The Bachelorette, right, Pace? Where you have to, watch one of those shows like you did the other day. And I don't tend to do that enough. So I struggle there.
Shawn, why do you think I have 6 TVs, buddy? You think I'm watching The Bachelorette?
Oh, I know you weren't watching it because you were live on Discord and you're texting, and I'm like, man, Lace must just be great at that balance. I don't know how Pace does it.
You should see how quickly. So Rox, Caitlin, and Lace were over last night. You should see how quickly, as soon as I started talking, they don't ask. I didn't say anything. You just see the show get paused instantly. They wait, and then yeah.
Well, that's awesome, because I don't think all of our partners would wait. We'd get smacked in the face, or we would get like our phones thrown across the room. And I will say I do struggle with that balance. So it's if you just go on the Discord channel, I'm going to say that most of us probably do struggle with it, because you can't go 2 seconds without hearing a notification pop up. It's just nonstop. And if you can't find a way to unplug, it could definitely interfere with your day-to-day stuff, and being a dad or a husband or what have you. It could definitely interfere if you don't have that balance down.
KB kind of asked a similar question about the time. The only thing I'm going to kind of pick out of his time question is like everything you just talked about, the 3 to 4 hours roughly of sports betting, sports value wagering, pregame as well included in that, or is pregame on top of that?
No, pregame is not. Pregame's kind of separate. I would say that the in-play live stuff. I listen to the streams. I'm locked in. I've got 6, 7, 8 sports books in front of me, and honestly, I'm just watching the numbers. I'm waiting for that, or I'm looking at my pregame data, and then I'll look at .com and look at the current pace for the game. I wasn't planning on taking the Suns yesterday. I saw they were getting their asses kicked with 10 minutes left in the second quarter on covers, and saw they were plus 240. I got them at plus 180, 170. And I said, hey, I'll take it for half a unit. And then I said, plus 7, I'll take it. So you have your pregame data preemptively before the in-play live strategy starts. And then you're locked in on the stream as it's going. And you just have that pregame data in your back of your mind. And you hope to correlate the two as much as you can. But it doesn't always happen, but you try to.
Awesome. What's the best thing you bought with your IPL winnings? This is my favorite question so far.
I'll be honest with you. I love traveling and making memories. Life to me is all about making memories. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody. And not to get all soft here, but when you lose somebody close in your family at a young age, I lost my mom at age 60 a couple of years ago to cancer. And holy fuck, man, if that doesn't open up your eyes and make you realize what's important, I don't know what does. And to me, when you make money on this, that's great. What are you going to do with it? I like to buy Airbnb properties in areas that I like to travel to. And a couple of those spots are places where my mom used to take us as kids. That was the first one I bought, is over in that area. And it gives you a place to go. It gives you a place to say, hey, all those 4-hour nights, 10-hour nights, all the money we made, we now have a place where we can go make memories, whether it's with your family, your friends, your group. That's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, when you die, who gives a fuck how much money you made? It's about the people that stand up there and talk about the memories that they've shared with you while you were alive. How did you impact them? How did you share a memory with them? And to me, it's all about diversifying into real estate and having places to go to enjoy that money.
That's incredible, man. Love that. To the softer side from Zach's new seat, will you be at the next IPL event?
I'm kind of pissed I didn't go to the first one. You know, I'll be honest with you. Well, if someone didn't have it in Canada, I would have been there. But the next one I'll definitely be at. I consider this group my extended family. I haven't even met anybody in this group. And, you know, I care about this group like brothers. Pace said earlier I would take a bullet for him. He's not lying. You know, the amount of money that's been made from the strategies that are taught in inplayLIVE are life-changing. You know, I've got a son who half of his college is going to be paid for just by the winnings I've made here. So I don't know Pace per se, but he's paying for my kid's college. How can I not love the guy? Jesus Christ. I mean, like if making money doesn't make you happy and the friendships you build along that journey, I mean, you stop and think about it. Pace created a conduit that allows us to make these memories, right? So like if you hit the pause button and think about the memories you've had with inplayLIVE so far, genuinely stop and do that. Like, what are your top 5 memories? How do you not smile? And how do you not correlate that to an awesome memory, money, friendship, all positive things? And even the memories that maybe weren't so good, where you learned something from and then can transition to a positive later. So, sorry to get all deep on you there, but that's just
I think it's phenomenal, man. I think it's phenomenal. Okay, Morgan had 2 questions. They're actually, I'm going to answer them myself. He asked if we track member success, and I think that's a really good question, because all we can do as a business is trust the results that we are being given from the members themselves. We see screenshots sent to us and things like that, but we can't control what people take and don't take, what people do on the side on their own, what wagers I call that they don't get in, what wagers I call that I don't get in. I don't end up seeing that. I call stuff that I don't get in myself sometimes, that other people are like, I got it because they had a different book in the States, where it's open on DraftKings and it wasn't open on 365. When I said it, I didn't get in. DraftKings kept it open longer, stuff like that. Right. So, you know, that's how I would answer that. Shawn, you're an inspiration, my friend. I very much appreciate you being in the group. I appreciate you coming on the call. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to, prove that Ray and Adam are second tier to Colter and I, who are the new hosts to the future, to the moon. And I think that's a great spot to call it. Thanks so much, everyone, for attending. And we'll post this live to our Facebook as well. So please respect Shawn's time. Ray and Adam will be back next week to reclaim the throne. Thanks, Colter.
Thanks, Pacer. See you, Shawn. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, guys. Thanks, Rob, too.